channel. This is part 2 of the games that I was going to beat in 2020. So we'll go right back into where I left off. Game that was on my list that I've had for a while, and I bought it many years ago. Wanting to play it was Digimon Story CyberSleuth. I remember years and years ago when the anime first came out with Tai and Mimi, and I really liked it, but I had never owned or played any Digimon games. And I seen this years ago and took a chance, and 'cause I love RPGs, and knew it was an RPG type thing, and it was a really good game, especially during a pandemic, because this game requires a huge time investment. I'm pretty sure I sunk in 88 hours, and that's unlocking most of the Digimon, because it's kind of like similar to Pokemon, right? Because they're kind of like rivals. It's even in the show, right? You're collecting different eggs, hatching them, going through different evolutionary branches and paths, and you want to unlock them all. And for me, it was nice, because if you're a fan of Digimon, it's nice to have that nostalgia, and it felt really good playing it. However, after about 30 to 35 hours, it became like a slog a bit for about maybe 15 hours. And because all you're really doing is grinding and leveling up a lot at that point in the game, and the problem is, it becomes quite apparent, is the battle background. So when you have an encounter or a random encounter or a boss encounter or whatever, it's the same bloody battle background, which is just a blue background. And if I can show it, I will in the video. It is just awful. It's the same music. It's the same background, and it gets so tedious to see the same stuff over and over. And I played many nights, like hours, because I got really into it. And it's a good game. Once you get past that bit there, it picks up again and becomes quite good. But that little middle part was disturbing for me. But the rest of it was good. The story's not too bad. I do think they could have shortened it a bit, like the game itself, or expanded the story more and had more story elements, because at times it gets lost and you're like, oh, 3 hours ago, what was the story again? What was I doing? What's going on? So I think for that they should improve that. And I don't know if they have in the next one, because there was another one out in the same vein as this, which I probably will play. I recommended this game to a friend of mine who was not a Digimon fan, and he hated it. So for those of you out there, if you are not a Digimon fan, I would not play this, because they said it was repetitive, and I can see that, and I can see how that would be the case, because at times it was. But because I was a fan of the series, I propelled that, right? That nostalgia kept propelling it. So it was a very good game. I really enjoyed it. And my wife liked watching me do the evolving of the different Digimon, and my daughter loved it as well, just watching me do that. So yeah, it was a really good game. Another game that I put in, 44 hours in, and is a game that I've played many times, and I've talked about this before on the channel as well, but never actually finished it to completion, meaning going to the Elite Four, so there's your hint, was Pokemon FireRed. And I played this from beginning to end, and again, I think I linked did a example of one of my teams from there, and that was the team I used. Wonderful game. Again, terrible year with the pandemic, a game that's nostalgic. I'm just so glad that I wrote it down and played it, and it was, I needed that, going back to Kanto, seeing Team Rocket, seeing Brock, Misty, going through the gyms, Sabrina, facing Erica, like all this stuff was fun. And the Elite Four, there's a lot of nostalgia there, and I liked it and highly recommend it. I don't have the cart with me because, again, my daughter has taken it and I can't find it. So don't leave your stuff lying around if you have kids. The next game is a game that I have always wanted to play, and because this is Mario's 35th year anniversary or anniversary year, um, I knew that coming up to when I was making this list. I knew that it was going to be, I knew that there'd probably be a lot of cool games, but I wanted to go to the original and go all the way back because I didn't have an NES and I didn't experience it, and I wanted to go to its roots. And I did go over to the roots. In a game that I'll talk about in the 41 that I want to put on my list, one of them was Donkey Kong, the original, like the arcade version. And that's where Mario kind of got started there a bit. And but anyways, I played the original Mario Brothers, and thank goodness for the Switch having the NES and Super NES sort of library that they're putting up there for people who are on the that get the online subscription. It's a wonderful. I'm glad they're doing this because people like me who didn't experience these games can play them, and I love it. And it keeps these older games alive on these newer systems so that people can play them to this day. And I really, really liked it. And it was nice for me to see the development of how this series of Super Mario started and continued. And what was weird is, if you certain like series that are very, very long that stretch going from the 80s all the way up until the present, there aren't that many, but there are a couple. If you start playing the newer games and then you go back to the old, people have a hard time. They find it doesn't work well. They don't like the mechanics because as we evolve in gaming, we get better graphics, better techniques, better tweaking of things to fix bugs and better hit detection and all kinds of things that we do in games. But when I played Mario Brothers, the original, it felt like going home. It was weird. It didn't feel alien to me. It felt just like every other Super Mario iteration that I've played, like including the modern ones. And I felt right at home. I knew it was weird. It was a weird experience, but a lovely experience. And I finished that over 2 nights. A thing that didn't have back in the NES, I know for a fact, was saving. But you can do that on the Switch, and thank goodness, because I could save and then come back the next day. Loved it. Great game. You can see all the main, all the basic underpinnings of the Mario franchise, the Super Mario franchise that we have today, there. And they've just improved upon them. And I thought it was a wonderful game. Highly recommend it to anybody who has never experienced it. You should do that. I think playing older games are very good. Don't be a graphics snob, because there are some excellent games here, not only for the historical aspect, but also just for gameplay. And the gameplay was really good, and I really enjoyed it. Sometimes it was a little bit challenging, but I did enjoy it. The next game was a game that I really, really wanted to play, and I just had it. I itched to play it, and that was the Stick of Truth, South Park Stick of Truth. Now I had the cartridge here, or not the cartridge, the disc for the PlayStation 4. Again, my daughter must have took it because I don't see it here. So again, though, great game. If you are a South Park fan, and that's the caveat, because it's like playing a South Park episode. It has the same humor, the same raunchiness, the same great jokes. It's wonderful if you are a South Park fan. If you are not a South Park fan, you will probably not like the Stick of Truth, or even the newer one, the Fractured Butthole, which I'm hoping to play this year. It was wonderful. It was like, again, like I said, playing through a South Park episode. I loved it. And the game of the South Park Stick of Truth, it plays like an RPG. A very bare bones RPG, obviously. And the story was fantastic. I loved the story. It was great. The RPG elements that were in it were just enough to satisfy my RPG-like qualities and need. But yeah, no, it was a story again. This one had an excellent story. Really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it if you are a South Park fan. If you are not, give it a try. Always nice to try new things. The humor, I laughed and laughed and laughed with that game. Great game. I can't recommend it enough, especially if you need to laugh after this terrible year we had. play that game. It was great. It was great. The next game that I played was a game that I got digitally, and that is the Tower of Deadly Monsters. It was a game that, if you like sci-fi, because I watched the trailer years ago, and it's like a movie director, and he's going through like a new DVD release of this movie that he made way back, like in the early days of cinema, and he's all these old movie tropes and movie monsters. If you're a movie buff or a cinematic person, you gotta love this. It was, and I love old movies. I love the old-fashioned cinema and monster movies in particular. This hit that spot, and it was great to play through this. And when you die, there'd be a commentary or some funny line that the director would say. It was great. It was great. I just really, really loved that game. I highly recommend it. I just loved it. My wife loved it too. She watched me play through it, and she thought it was just great. There was excellent lines. There was a lot of nostalgia again there if you like older movies and monster movies. Great. It was. I can't again say anything better about this game. You need to play it. I would say if you haven't, it's a hidden gem, I think. And it's on I know it's on the PlayStation 4, that's where I played it. You have to play it. It is great. You will not be sorry that you played it. The next game on my list is Soul Calibur 6. I have been a Soul Calibur fan all the way back to the arcades. I love Soul Calibur. I have so many great memories of my friend and I playing this game, how my sister and I used to play it. Even my uncle used to come over, and he really liked Maxi. It's a great game. I loved it. It's at times can be a bit of a slog going through some of the single player stuff. I think it was the Libra of Souls. That was fantastic. I really liked that, and I hope they continue that in other fighting games, that kind of sort of story driven. It was great. I liked that part. Some of the online stuff, you get matched up and then you're kicked out and killed instantly. It was those people are top notch, especially I'm late to the game, and so you're fighting like the best of the best people out there. But other than that, it was great. I didn't get to play too much couch, playing against somebody because again it's a pandemic. My wife does not like these type of games. So I just essentially played the single player, and I think I played a couple of. I did obviously the arcade modes as well, but I played a couple of versus modes with the computer, and it was good. I really liked this game. It was nice to get Geralt from The Witcher. That was nice, but no, it was a good game. I really liked it. It was a nice, again, another fighting game, which I adore. I love fighting games. Partly because I like playing with other people. So, the next game is a game that I have always wanted to play, and have watched many YouTubers talk about it, like the Happy Console Gamer or the Angry Video Game Nerd, and I watched them go through it, and I've always kind of, I want to try it. And this Halloween, I did, and I played Ghosts and Goblins. And like they all said, it is tough. Again, I put it on the Switch using that NES emulation app that they have there. Really good game. It was tough as nails. There were so many cheap shots that happened, so much broken crap that would happen. But it was fun. And in a whole week, it took me a week, because I had never played it before, so all these things were new, and the tricks, I didn't know all the stuff. It was fun. It was tough, but fun. I got through it and saved the I guess it's a princess, or whoever that demon guy took in the beginning. I really liked it. It was a great game to play, especially during Halloween. It felt perfect, and I was in the right headspace at that time to play that game, and yeah, it was tough, but an excellent game. It had so many excellent mechanics, and And that's another thing I want to talk about at some point, is that, yeah, it was hard. And there's some of these games on this list that they were hard, but they weren't unfair. And there are some games that I'll talk about that I did go through this year in the next one, um, where it was unfair, where I felt like it was unfair. A little bit like that with Crash, right? Because of the changes in the hit detection and so on. At times, it felt unfair. That it's not me as a player, it's something's wrong here. And I know it's not just me, but other people had that. It's not unbeatable. It's not an unbeatable game, Crash, the first one in the Insane trilogy, but it certainly makes it tough. And again, with things like Ghost and Goblins, yeah, it was tough at times. Like, oh, that's a cheap shot. That was unfair. But you can beat it. You can get through it. It's not game breaking, and a little bit of challenge is nice and frustration. And I didn't mind it. It's the other games where it's like cheap controls and things are just dumb. They don't work. That's a problem. Another game that I played that I haven't wanted to play for a very long time, again a digital title, was Everyone's Gone to the Rapture. Again, what a game! What a game! It's a walking simulator type game, story, silent protagonist. You're picking up bits of memories and watching dialogue of something that's happened to a town in England. And I don't want to give anything away, but it was, at a time where I was struggling a bit because of losing research and, not feeling mentally well. This game was revolutionary. It really impacted me. And there are only so many games out there that impact your soul. That game impacted me in that way. It was just the timing, and again, I'll never forget playing it, just experiencing it and being a part of it. It's similar to those who haven't played it. If you played things like Journey, it's kind of like that, but it just it just impacted me, and then it's the solitude. It just resonated with me because of the pandemic, right? We're all kind of in solitude. It just resonated and really impacted me. Again, if you don't like walking simulators or walking, doing that, you wouldn't like it. I know a lot of people don't like that, I've talked to. But for me, I really liked it. It was a game that was oddly calming, yet you felt creeped out, right? What's going on? But I liked it. And I think if you should give it a try. I think everyone should at least give it a try. It was life-changing, and I liked it, and yeah, perfect time for that. Now, the last two games on my list of 20 that I didn't... Oh, nope, sorry, there's one more game before we do the two that I didn't beat, and this is Monster Tale. Monster Tale is a game for the DS. It's a Metroidvania-style game, and I just finished it not that long ago. It is a fantastic game. You're a little kid named Ellie, which I guess is another reason why I liked it so much, because my daughter, the one that was born in August, is named Eloise, and we call her Ellie. So I felt like, oh yeah, I'm playing as like my daughter's namesake, and I'd play it with her. Like I'd hold her in my arms while I was playing, and she would sleep, and I'd be playing this at night. It was a great game. So you're a little girl that goes into this monster world, and you hatch an egg that becomes a little creature. And what's kind of cool, it's kind of like Pokemon a little bit, where you've got this little monster will evolve into different evolutionary lines if you do certain things, like eat so many ice creams or so much pizza or whatever. And as you go through the levels and he grows up, you get a next stage in evolution. So like a teen form, adult form, stuff like that. What I didn't like was that you'd max a stat out in these evolutionary branches, and you couldn't continue. So if there was another evolution, you wouldn't be able to get it. And that annoyed the hell out of me, because you can't really 100% get everything. So yeah, it was not too bad. And also there's a lot of hand holding in this. Like they would tell you where to go. Where like in Metroid, for example, you were free to explore, and you'd find all kinds of little secrets and hidden rooms. Here there isn't. They kind of tell you where you're going to go, so that part of like the exploring part isn't there. So that was my biggest criticism of that game. But overall, it was a pretty good game. I would recommend it if you like Metroidvania style games. But yeah, no, it was a good game to play. So that brings me to the 2 games I did not complete on my list. And the first one on the list is a really good reason why. And it was Vampire, another digital game of mine. It's about a guy in London who gets turned into a vampire. He's a doctor, but he gets turned into a vampire. And you're going on a quest to figure out who turned you into a vampire and how do you use your powers and understand some of that story. But where it gets difficult and why I stopped playing it, and I might not even go back to it for a little bit, was because it's at a time period after World War, was it II, I think? Or one of them, one of the World Wars. And it was during the Spanish flu epidemic. So it must have been after World War I. I didn't like it because of that. There's a lot of sickness. They talk about viral spread and people dying, and you know, it's too close to what's happening in 2020. And again, it's a game I picked before all this happened, and I didn't know it, right? I didn't know it was going to happen. So to have that happen in this game was tough. And so I think I got 1/3 of the way through. And it's not like a long game in any stretch. It's kind of like an action RPG. So you level up and you level up skills and get different things like that. But it became too close to home, and so I stopped playing that one. And I one day will get back to it, but yeah, bad game to pick for a pandemic that we're in. And the last game is a game that I have had since the beginning when I bought my PlayStation 4 all those years ago, and that was Dragon Age Inquisition. The issue with what happened there is something happened with my account, and I lost all my save data, and I was like 35 hours in all those years ago, and I couldn't get it back. I don't know what happened. I lost everything, and I said to myself, you're going to go and beat this game because it's a really good game. I really enjoyed my time. I loved it. I love that kind of fantasy genre, and just the whole thing was wonderful. But a part of me was like, you rubbed me the wrong way, right? I lost all my data. What if it happens again, right? What if I go through this, get to the 30 hour, 35, maybe even a little bit more, and poof, my stuff goes. I was really upset. Well, I popped it in, I put the disc in to the PlayStation 4, and I should have took the disc out to bring it here to show, but anyways, I put the disc in, and it updated. It was the weirdest thing ever. There was this big update that they were putting in, and I don't remember there being such an update. And this was like about a week ago. And, you know, I knew I wasn't going to finish it in a week. I mean, I knew it was going to happen, but I just wanted to see and just to play a couple hours in because I felt like it. And after this big update, my save file appeared. All these years, it just was there, and it somehow came back, and I was so happy and so excited and to play it again because it's been a while. Obviously, I've forgotten a lot of the controls and things. It took a little time to get back, but oh my god, I'm so happy. So now that I know that, it's one of my first games I'll be beating in January, yeah, so that's a really, really, really good game that if you haven't played it, I do recommend it. It's a fun RPG. I really enjoy it. But yeah, so hopefully I'll be beating that this year. So with that, I know this is a very long video, but these were the games that I went through and beat this year with a little bit of my commentary on them. So I hope you enjoyed them. Thank you for those of you that watched all the way through, or even just slightly clicked through and skipped. Thank you, though, for being a part of this. Thank you so much, and I hope you'll have a wonderful day, and I will speak with you guys soon. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.